We can start our programming. Thank you guys so much for coming. If you guys can take a seat so we can start our programming. Oh, you got to tell the AV that. It should be going throughout all the speakers in the room. Welcome, you guys. Thank you so much for coming to our special event. If you guys can take a seat, please, so we can get started. Thank you guys so much for coming. If you guys can take a seat, please, so we can get started with our programming. Guys, if we can make our way to our seats, please, so we can start the programming. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. If you can make your way to your seats so we can start. I promise there's time for networking afterwards. Thank you guys so much. If you can take a seat so we can start our programming. Welcome. Thanks again for coming to this special event. If you guys can take a seat so we can get started. Thank you guys so much for coming. Can we please be seated? Thank you, thank you. Thank you guys so much. I promise there'll be time for networking at the end again. We appreciate all of you coming out today for this special celebration. Give it just one more minute. Okay, now everyone's really quiet. Thank you guys. Yeah, if you guys can be seated, we are recording this, so it will be repurposed. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you guys so much for coming again to this special event to honor Professor Jag Sheth today. We are so honored here at TiE Atlanta, TiE Atlanta Foundation. If you guys don't know who I am Maya Roffler. I am the membership director here at TiE Atlanta. I have met some of you before, but see a lot of new faces, so happy to see you guys here tonight. We have a really cool program tonight to honor Professor Jag Sheth, and I am going to get started. So to kick it off, we have our amazing president, Sid Mukherjee. So Sid, if you'll come on up.
Hey, a very titastic welcome to all of you. Good afternoon. Thank you for making time this afternoon for joining us for honoring Dr. Sheth. he's one of the icons of the city, of our community, and he's amazing with what he does. So I'm glad you could join us. Uh, about half the people in this room are, I don't know, may not be familiar with TiE. So I just want to spend a few minutes telling you about TiE and who we are. So TiE is a global organization that has been built for the purpose of fostering entrepreneurship through networking, mentoring, education, and investments. We are a global organization, which means we are comprising of 61 chapters across 14 countries, about 15,000 members, and about 3,000 charter members, which is a higher level of membership. TiE Atlanta has been around for about 25 years. Next year, we are going to be 25 years old. TiE Atlanta, along with, also has a sister organization called TiE Foundation that focuses on education as well as helping out minority and women-run businesses. TiE Atlanta, the key programming features of TiE Atlanta are, we have networking meetings like we'll have this evening. We have workshops specific to topics that are of importance to entrepreneurs. We also have a program which is built specifically for making advisory boards for fast-growing companies or companies that are looking to grow fast. And we call it COBA. TiE also has a sister organization called TiE Atlanta Angels. And so we are the largest angel group, or the most prolific angel group in the Southeast United States. And we invest in early stage companies, meet about once a month, I'm sorry. And we also invest in companies which are founded by either minorities or women. And this is through another program called the Access Program, okay? So that's TiE Atlanta Angels. It's been very successful, and it's very popular also with our members because, not only do people get a chance to invest in this asset class of private equity, but they also learn how to invest. Like, what do you look for when you're investing? What is the difference between a priced round and a convertible note and a safe and so on and so forth? So these are all things that you learn by being a part of this organization, okay? And then last but not the least, we also have the foundation itself, and the foundation actually focuses on education. So education for high school students and for university students through our TiE Young Entrepreneurs and the TiE University program. And lots and lots of kids have gone through this program, has been very successful. And then TiE Foundation also gives out grants to minority and women-run companies through an extension of the Access program, which I mentioned earlier on. Okay, so the reason I'm telling you all this is because if you're not already a member of TiE, I welcome you to become a member, or even choose to be a member at the higher level of being a charter member. So one of the things is the charter member socials, which is a very exclusive kind of group, which we do about 3 or 4 times a year in very fabulous locations and great networking opportunities and so on and so forth, with about 80 to 100 people that are the charter members of this organization. So love for you all to become a member of, become members there. Also, we can offer up our speaking opportunities if you are interested for both our regular meetings as well as for our signature conference, which we'll have on September 30th this year called TiECon, right? So it's a day-long event, so love for you all to participate in that in some way, shape, or form. I'm currently the president of TiE Atlanta, right? And there are a bunch of board members over here. If you can please stand up so everyone can see who you are. Thank you. Karen as well. We are a board of about 10 people, and then we also have a great staff. You just met Maya, and there is Sebastian, and there are a couple more as well. So again, after this program, if you're interested in learning more, please ask one of us, and we'll be more than happy to give you more information. But coming to today's evening, first of all, once again, a very warm welcome to everybody, and a special welcome to Dr. Sheth and to Madhu Sheth. Thank you all for making time for coming here. I mean, it's such an honor to have you here along with us. We are so proud to have you as a member of TiE, as a part of this community of. So, I mean, everybody knows Dr. Jag Sheth. He is the Charles H. Kelstad Professor of Marketing at the Goizueta Business School of Emory University. He has published numerous, over 200 papers. He has written several books, the most famous being The Rule of Three, how to survive and thrive in a competitive market. He has been so well recognized in so many different ways. The Padmabhushan which he received, and we are going to talk about today, is definitely one of the most recent ones, but that's not the only one for sure. But there are parts of Dr. Sheth's life that you may not know about. He was born in what then was Burma, right, Myanmar. He actually did his education in Chennai, where he met the future Mrs. Sheth. And this was because Jag is such a generous person. He gives a great amount of money, his time, his support through a foundation that they have, a family foundation. And even then, while he was a student, he was actually running a literacy society for other students. And of course, I mean, thinking about how much a person can be dedicated and committed to helping out others, it just shows there. Also, Dr. Jag Sheth was one of the core members of the group that set up the first Indian Institute of Management in Calcutta back in the early to mid 60s, one of the early core members. So, that actually completely transformed the entire country, right? So proud. But you know what? Personally, I also want to just put in here that I have known Dr. Sheth for so many years now, and I have just been amazed at what, of course, he is an immensely smart person. I mean, that goes without saying. Look at Wikipedia, it'll tell you all that, right? But he's also so humble, he's so gentle, he's so generous with his time. I mean, there's not been one time, and I'm sure many of you will have had that same experience. Not once have I called up Dr. Jag and said, I need your help, I need your advice, and he's always given me time, and I know that he's given time to others. So again, very humbling, and thank you, sir, for being here, and looking forward to celebrating with you today. At this point, I'd like to we have the mayor of Dunwoody, Lynn Deutsch, here with us. Can I please request you to come up and say a few words? Great community partner and a great partner to TiE. So just wanted to welcome you and have you say a few words.
Thank you, and I'll be very brief. First, congratulations to Dr. Sheth on your big honor. And as I told you when I met you a second ago, we have something in common. You wrote a book called The Accidental Scholar, and I am an accidental mayor. So we have that in common. And we are excited as a city to launch a new partnership with TiE Atlanta. I was elected mayor in November of 19, which meant I became mayor in January of 2020, about 9 weeks before the world shut down. And as a reaction to the pandemic in the summer of 2020, I formed an economic advisory committee to help us figure out how to navigate what was happening in real time and what was going to happen in the future. And as we evolved, we decided that entrepreneurship and technology and retail startups and restaurant startups and all kinds of things were a big part of Dunwoody's future. And so as we begin to implement what we learned through that process, it was obvious that TiE Atlanta should be part of our work. And so we look forward to the multifaceted partnership that we're going to have moving forward. And again, my deepest congratulations and thank you for celebrating here in Dunwoody, because just in case you didn't know, this is Dunwoody. And so thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I don't want to move forward without thanking all of our event hosts, I should say. So a big round of applause for all of these wonderful people who made this event happen. So thank you guys so much. Okay, so here is a quick recap of our agenda today. We're in the programming portion right now. So right now we are going to kick it off with a short documentary about Professor Sheth.
He has impacted so many different areas of the marketing field and the business field. Any criteria in terms of research output, recognition, citations, influence, the amount of books and journal articles, he's up there.
If all he ever did was academics, he'd be one of the great leaders of the last 60 years. If all he did was help create future business leaders and help the governance and the strategy of corporations, he'd be one of the great corporate thinkers and leaders of the last 50 years. But also he's had this profound impact on public policy and government.
Jagdish Jag Sheth was born in 1938 in Burma, then a British colony. Sheth spent his formative years in Madras. After completing a bachelor's degree program in 1960, Sheth decided to apply for an MBA program in the United States. In October 1963, Sheth joined Howard at Columbia as a research associate. In 1969, he left Columbia for the University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana, one of the largest public universities in the country.
Once we moved to Illinois, that's really where Dad's star power started. He started teaching multivariate statistics, of all things, to corporations. He started teaching to AT&T, and from AT&T, he started teaching other companies as well.
The Theory of Buyer Behavior, the book Sheth had been collaborating with John Howard for 7 years, was finally published in 1969. It instantly became a classic, transforming the discipline of marketing from a product-driven field to a consumer-driven one.
Or if I'm a consumer behavior researcher and I'm thinking of what's the foundations of consumer behavior research, Howard Sheth theory is in that mix.
The newfound popularity enabled him to land consulting jobs with some of the largest companies in the world. In 1984, he left the University of Illinois reluctantly to accept a position at the University of Southern California in Los Angeles. In 1991, Sheth decided to leave USC and join Emory University. Outside of academics, Sheth's success in the field of executive education made him an enormously sought-after consultant to many U.S. and global companies. Besides major telecom players such as AT&T, Bell South, and Lucent, the list of corporate giants he worked with as a consultant since the 1980s include General Motors, Whirlpool, Home Depot, Delta, and UPS. By the 1990s, with his reputation as a consultant growing and stardom in the academic field rising, Sheth began receiving invitations to join corporate boards. Over the next 2.5 decades, he would serve on the boards of more than half a dozen diverse range of corporations. Among them was Wipro, one of India's most valuable companies. The hallmarks of Sheth's scholarship are his extraordinary ability to analyze issues from up close as well as from a distance, his capacity to cut through the present and see the future, and his ability to communicate across disciplines. It is these qualities that have made him such an influential figure, both in the academic and business worlds.
Jag is one of those people that can see the small picture and the big picture in one conversation. He flies at 50,000 feet and then at 50 feet in a second.
One of the things that really separates Jag Sheth, I think, from every other scholar that I've ever come across is he's really a year or two in front of the field in terms of his innovative ideas.
Sheth also has a remarkable intellectual range.
I don't think there's probably any field that I engage in that he wouldn't have thoughts about because he's probably done some research related to it.
Besides the theory of buyer behavior, Sheth has authored or co-authored nearly 30 books and over 200 papers. Because of their applicability in the real world, many of his books have become popular, used not just by the academic community, but also by businesses and even governments. In recent years, Sheth has left boards and cut down on most of the corporate engagements to spend more time on philanthropy. During his 6 decades of professional and academic life, Sheth has received several accolades from dozens of prominent trade groups, institutions, and nations. In 2020, India, the country of his birth, honored Sheth with the Padmabhushan Award, the third highest civilian award in the nation. Over nearly 6 decades, Jagdish Sheth has built a remarkable legacy in multiple spheres.
He has impacted so many different areas of the marketing field and the business field. Almost any criteria in terms of research output, recognition, citations, influence, the amount of books and journal articles, he's up there. He is probably, with Phil Kotler, the other only person that comes close to, Jag's accomplishments.
If all he ever did was academics, he'd be one of the great leaders of the last 60 years. If all he did was help create future business leaders and help the governance and the strategy of corporations, he'd be one of the great corporate thinkers and leaders of the last 50 years. But also he's had this profound impact on public policy and government.
Sheth himself considers the students, academics, and corporate leaders that he mentored and helped develop over the decades to be his greatest legacy.
I think my legacy would be more about someone who unlocked the potential of so many, either on a one-on-one mentoring or influencing in the class and inspiring them to do something. I think it's the ultimate purpose of human being. How do you make ordinary people extraordinary? And how do you unlock their potential?
If you get in one room all the people that he mentored when they were PhD students, and you see the careers they've had as professors, and then you see their students, there's kind of the Jag Sheth pyramid, and as a teacher and as a mentor and as an advisor, you could gather probably 1/3 of the world's great marketing professors, and they have a tie to Jag Sheth.
Well, can you guys hear me? Okay, perfect. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm really inspired after watching that. That is only 6 minutes of a 43-minute documentary, correct? Okay, so just one housekeeping item. We hear some cell phones going off, so if you guys could just silence your phones for a little bit longer. Without further ado, I would like to introduce Dr. Paul Lopez for our Fireside Chat. Dr. Paul Lopez.
Hey, let's hear it for Dr. Jag Sheth. Woohoo! We actually calendared this event at the India Consulate in April of 2020, so it's 2 years in the making. I remember you weren't sure when you were going to India, where the President of India actually presents these awards in person. So when we say it's one of the highest civilian awards, we really mean it. So once again, I'm going to call on Jag to come join me so we can talk about some stuff and maybe open it up to questions you have in mind as well. Okay? And we're going to get comfortable. They say fireside chat in a day where it's 107 degrees heat index, right? So maybe...
Only if I can get up on the stool,
Well, I hear Madhu helps you out. I've seen him dance, by the way, at his 80th birthday. Madhu, you want to do that all over again? You might. Have you all been practicing?
Yeah.
There you go. Awesome. I'm told that we're going to spend the next 30 minutes in a lecture on multivariate statistics. So Raj, I'm not sure if you ever got taught any of that. We'll see how much he really remembers out of all of that. No, actually we have two objectives here. The two objectives are, maybe now that you've seen a 6-minute portion of the video, is again, let him step through a couple of milestones on his journey where those of us who are listening can see what a role model he is. And then the second objective is perhaps to take 1 or 2 lessons, not 40, 1 or 2 lessons that might be applicable, actionable by us in our lives, because he does span a whole series of, or a whole set of disciplines in that regard. Fair enough? So those are our 2 objectives. I'll start off with a few questions. If any of you have some and we have time, we'll do that before the actual awards ceremony. Okay?
Before that.
Yes.
I do want to thank so many friends who have come. It's not easy to come in the city of Atlanta during traffic time. And it's so easy to see all of you after many, many years, in fact. So thank you for coming.
I'm going to go start off with your rule of three. I have no clue what the book says.
I will have a hard time also summarizing myself. So
Okay.
it's a very simple theory. All industries, as they evolve and grow, shakeouts, mergers take place, and ultimately they all look like a shopping mall. In the shopping mall, what you see are anchor stores, usually 3, not 4. Any shopping mall, only 3 survive, and then the rest of them are all specialty retailers. They coexist, they don't compete. The big volume-driven players, which are the anchor stores, offer everything to everybody, and their whole game is to make money through volume, not through margin. The niche players, on the other hand, make money through margin. They specialize either by a product category, like a Foot Locker, for example, or they may specialize by a lifestyle, such as the Limited or Mothers Only or something like that. There are so many specialty stores. Long term, there's a cycle. When the industry gets organized for efficiency into 3 big players, lots of little guys die in the process. Either they sell out. We saw that .com bust, remember, in the 90s? Many of them were wiped out. As Bitcoin is going through that another industry right now, cloud computing is going to go through the same thing. Already you see the rule of 3 prevailing with Amazon being there, Microsoft number 2, and there's a right now competition between IBM Cloud, which is public-private, or some other. And there are niche players out there, quite a few, like Zscaler from Jay Chaudhary, who is from Atlanta originally. Great, great company. So always that happens. There's a cycle between the two. Now, the worst place is where you have neither volume advantage, scale, nor the margin advantage. So you go in the ditch. One more thing that happens, a startup company, which is what we focus on, in the sake of growing, because margins are good, there's a pressure by the venture capital people, or if you go public, by the public equity, to grow fast. And rather than growing fast, they go in the ditch. Totally non-intuitive. Number 3 company on the big boys is more innovative than number 1 and number 2, consistently. So it's RC Cola that led all the revolution and the changes in the soft drinks, not Coca-Cola or Pepsi. It was not General Motors or Ford, but Chrysler led the innovation change, which is very uncanny. So it has found many non-traditional thinking. And Paul, it is used in 2 places outside of the classroom and consulting. It is used heavily by mergers and acquisition on the sell side, Goldman Sachs. People like that will use as a framework to motivate companies to merge or sell or buy, whatever that happens. And the other place is the anti-competitive laws, anti-monopoly laws. So in the Department of Justice, when they file a lawsuit, like AT&T will use this to acquire Sprint, which eventually went to T-Mobile. You see again a rule of 3, Verizon number 1 in the cellular phone, you see AT&T number 2, and you see T-Mobile and Sprint combination number 3 now. It's consistent.
So given that, since most of the audience are either academicians from Emory, Kennesaw State, et cetera, or entrepreneurs, right, or VCs, et cetera, so what? How could they use this rule of 3 concept in what they are, how could they apply it?
The rule of 3 is more universal than just theory and competition. Surprisingly, it is in every religion, there's a Trinity principle. The first thing is not duopoly or duality, but it's 3 things. Its application is everyday life. When you want to be a speaker, you want to say, I'm going to talk about 3 times, again and again, and then that's it. All journalists learn these things. So it's in our daily practice, we can practice it. But I find fascinating that there is a new triad power at a geopolitical level. Used to be Japan, Western Europe at one time, and America. Now it is China, India, and America. India is the 3rd player, always is the one that nobody understands how when they come in, Number one, number two are very predictable patterns. So in your daily life, you can feel the same way. There are lots of daily implications. So when you're starting a business, for example, you will have to identify, is your niche something that nobody can duplicate? There's always a rule of one. Then there's a rule of two. Then there's a rule of three. It can work any place.
So applying that, what are the 3 words you describe yourself with and why? I actually had it written down. I have no clue why.
I didn't expect that question. For me, it would be primarily trust. Clearly, somebody who like to contribute to other people's welfare, get the potential out, strong belief, and giving back. I think giving back gives you an inner satisfaction that you don't get when you get it from somebody else. So giving back also, I find, while you are alive, is more pleasant than after you are dead anyhow.
You know, once I remember you talking about how education's a great multiplier.
Yes.
And of all things that you're known for, you're a great educator. Explain that concept of why education has been so important in your life.
And I will basically talk about a sentence I will use in the first and then talk about myself. If you take a grain of wheat, an agricultural commodity, and make it into a loaf of bread, the value add is only 3 times. Raw material is 1/3 of the cost of making it. If you take a rough diamond, a good diamond cutter will polish and get the brilliance out, and the value add will be 15 to 20 times. But if you take a human being, mentor, nurture, and especially educate, the value add is infinite. There's no upper limit of what humans can do, which is very nice to understand. In my case, I relate to that because that's exactly what happened. I come from a merchant community where education is not the emphasis, running the business is the emphasis. Born in Burma or Myanmar, became refugee, just like Ukraine right now, or Syria, or any other place where you have a refugee problem. I would be back in our native place, running probably a panwala shop. Indians can understand, a little provision store, which is called
Explain
panwala.
it for the people who don't know what a
Correct.
panwala shop
It's a
is.
small store, maybe about 300 to 400 square feet. It has more SKUs, stock keeping units, than any other place you will find. Somehow the storekeeper knows where those things are when the customers come in. It's a fantastic place to watch how the merchant manages, pretty much. And I would be managing that less than high school education. But it's very fascinating. Things happen accidentally, which is why I wrote the book called The Accidental Scholar. So here is a panwala who becomes a professor. That's very, very uncommon. That's exactly why I feel very strongly in education. My sisters mentored me quite a lot, older sisters, I'm the youngest. My older brothers mentored me eventually quite a lot. And my own view is that if you think positively about the future and think that the world is benevolent, somebody shows up to help you. I strongly believe in that, whether it's a faith or a belief system, which is interesting. And it has happened again and again in my life. So I got very good people who helped me out. And as an entrepreneur, that journey is so lonely. And at the same time, so tough. It's 24/7. Therefore, if you have a positive attitude, you're going to go a long way. But more importantly, the right people will show up to help you out, which is why it's very important to be in networking someplace. Somebody will discover you, as we have seen in talent. There are talent scouts out there, whether they're in athletic situation or in fine arts, acting, etc. Somebody discovers you, you get a break. If you look at the biographies of people who have made it, it's always the case. I also believe one more thing, Paul, which I think is very key. I think you have to go through some tough times. I think that's a very important lesson. Being a refugee and going through 7-8 years of very hardship, no money, no availability of milk or sugar or kerosene. We had no electricity in my days, obviously. And you survive. What it does is that it gives you an inner strength. It builds a character. It makes you less corruptible from influences that are not good on you, which I think is very important. So if you have not gone through tough times, find tough times.
You know, Jag, that's a good segue into, you've told me the Padmabhushan Award, which is similar to the concept. It comes in multiple levels, et cetera, equivalent in the US to like the Medal of Freedom or whatever. But you've told me that that's really not a personal award, even though it is in the area of literature and education, but it's really a community award. It's a very interesting way to put it. Tell us why you think it's not a personal award, but a community award.
No, Paul, that's very interesting. When the award was announced, January at the Republic Day in 2020, I was excited, but not that much. Interestingly, it's one more award for what you do and people recognize. I did not know the significance of the award, first of all. More importantly, when the communities that we belong to, so for example, the academic community, the Jain, we are Jains, like Buddhism, Jainism, so Jain community. I come from Gujarat or Kutch, Kutchi community, Gujarati community. I'm basically brought up in Chennai, the South Indian community. They all thought the award was on their behalf. I represented them, true of TiE Atlanta chapter. You were the first ones to say, we need to celebrate. See, you took the ownership of the award, just I'm a representative. That's more meaningful, which I don't think has happened with many other awards, okay? I must tell you, it's an award for me kind of a notion as opposed to award for the community and the public at large.
And by the way, if you don't know, in the area of marketing, had there been a Nobel Prize for marketing, you'd be seated here with a Nobel laureate. He's won every other possible award in the areas of marketing. I mean, it just goes on and on and on, and I just wanted to point that out. So congratulations to you and the communities that you serve.
Can I add something here, Paul? No award can be ever won of any kind without the support of your spouse or significant other. So,
how long have you all been married? Or how long has Madhu tolerated you? One of the two now. Madhu, how long?
60 years.
60 years. Congratulations. So, and we'll be hearing from the result of their marriage, both from Reshma, who can't be here. She's at the graduation of one of their grandchildren today. I can't remember where, but she's out of state, right?
San Diego.
In San Diego, and then you'll be hearing from Rajan as well. They get to be neighbors. How far apart are you all going to be in, up there in Sugarloaf between you and Dad and Mom? Were you trying to get really cheap babysitting, or what were you and Dad? How far apart now are you? I thought that was what you have this self-storage business for, real cheap rent. No, 3 minutes away. Awesome to have family that close, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, you know, no matter how you think about it, you have this whole world who are friends of yours, supporters, you know, also admirers even, right? But ultimately, there's nothing like family.
Totally true.
When the chips are down, family is there.
So since I asked you the question about 3, you know I'm going to ask you a question about 2 and then 1. So here's the question on 2.
Yes.
What 2 lessons have you learned that you think you want others to see you and view you as a role model? What would be 2 key lessons?
The one key lesson would be being very optimistic about the future. If you are not positive about the future, you will let yourself down. I've gone through some dark times, and I came out of it. And I realized having a positive attitude about the future keeps you going. Second thing I find in my case is that everything I've done it through passion, not for money. If you're working for money, you will have a burnout, ultimately. Advising chairmen of large companies as a coach one-on-one, I find most of them are lonely, especially self-made entrepreneurs who are millionaires or billionaires, because they were driven strictly by money. And they were not given back to the society while they're earning. They think, I'll wait till I graduate, sell the business or something. So society also begins to isolate them. And they want to talk to people like us, or a psychologist for that matter. They're very lonely, which shocked me. I thought they'll be happy, but that's not the case. So passion is the second major thing that you must have. The third one, and probably becoming more relevant in today's post-COVID especially, is empathy. You have to put yourself in the shoes of others, especially those who are less privileged, and understand the world from their viewpoint. So for example, at a school of management in India, which is named after me, we have insisted that in the MBA class, where we only teach shareholder value, the first term alone, the students have to go and be in the slum areas, lower income neighborhoods, immerse yourself, understand the problems, and take on a project from that one. By the time they're gone one semester alone, they're totally transformed. So education is a very powerful tool the way we shape it, human minds. So the right shaping is very important. So making money without meaning is meaningless. It comes to haunt you. It's uncanny. I thought money will make you happy, especially coming as a refugee where you struggle for survival, economic survival, but that's not the case.
Wow. So here's my question on the one. What's the single highlight of your professional career and the single highlight of your personal career? And then we'll open it up for a couple of questions from the audience.
Yeah, personal career is easy to answer, and that is to marry Madhu Sheth.
Yay! They are going to dance afterwards. I'm telling you, I've seen them. No. Sure, I'm going to bring the mic up for you, Madhu. So, no, they want to hear you.
The only thing I want to say, in spite of me, he got all of these awards.
No.
I don't think Raj would agree with that at all, right?
No, and I must tell you that, and I'm taking time away, but the journey of somebody who comes to marry you, we got married in Pittsburgh at Heinz Chapel. I had no money. She came all by herself, first time I ever traveled. No support system, no parents on either side, and adapting to this culture, contributing back. Her journey is much more a legacy than my journey. I think there has to be a movie on her journey as to how you become to adapt to a situation, which ultimately says that we as humans are very adaptive species. We improvised during COVID that nobody imagined we could do weddings in the driveways with people drive around, while you are there. We would do funeral services in absence, for example, memorials. I've gone through that several recently during the COVID period. Things we do, ultimately, if you are able to change, if you are willing to change and able to change, you will survive quite well. Ultimately, that's really what I believe in.
So what about the highlight of your professional career?
He doesn't forget any question, right?
And if you didn't notice, I said, what were the 2 lessons? And he still gave us a rule of 3, so he's way ahead of me.
I used to watch him at Kennesaw State. He's a great interviewer, a great leadership lectures he used to give. I remember my days meeting him at Kennesaw State. I think the biggest achievement would be, like anything else, generating more doctoral students who enhance the discipline. Make the discipline to the next plateau. And I tell you, I'm so blessed to have had very good students who wanted to work with me, contribute with me. And to me, that's the most important part.
So if you weren't an educator, what would be your backup job? You still have time, by the way. You're only in your mid-80s.
Yes. a diamond cutter.
Diamond cutter. Why?
No, the reason is that when you come back to America through immigration, they usually will ask you 2 questions. How long have you been away from the country, and what do you do? In my case, they don't even ask, they say, are you a diamond merchant? So maybe I look like diamond merchant, you know. Where did you go? I mean, this is a virtual world here. No, I'm fine. No, I think I may be a teacher. I have no idea. I've never thought about that one.
So you have passion for what you're doing,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. In fact, it's important. I would have gone into business because of the discipline. I will tell you, yeah, there was a possibility I would have been a CPA, or India, what we call chartered accountant. My major was income tax, honors program, and I would have become a CPA. Accounting is a great discipline. Really, you can learn quite a lot, but it needs a little passion. Has
Good
to make
to know.
it emotive, right?
We'll take
I'll
one or
start.
2 questions, and then we'll do the couple of words from Reshma and Raj, and then do the ceremony. So is that Jeff who's got his hand up? There you go. Jeff from Emory.
I'll start out with a short statement and then a
Sure.
question. But there's a whole lot of JAG's colleagues here. And JAG was the first business school winner of our highest award at Emory University. So we just want to say how much we appreciate JAG and his mentorship. You all know Ben Kaczynski, of course, in TiE. He's our second most famous professor, most published, et cetera. And
the best dressed today with his bow tie, I know, right?
That bow tie never comes off. But also, we have members of our faculty, like the head of our Business and Society Institute, and President Fenves would be here, and he sends his regards. He's in London on Emory Business. Now, the question is, if you could tell us a little more about the fact that you and Madhu started charity at a very young age. Bill Gates did, but otherwise, as you say, most people wait until their career is over or they've made their money. And are there some roots in Jainism that has led you to this charitable path in life?
Thank you, Jeff. First of all, you saw Jeff on that interview, which I saw afterwards. I had no idea. It's incredible. Do you see the power of speaking? I mean, he has a command over the language, timing, and everything is just incredible. It moved me. Thank you. The giving back comes naturally when you have suffered a lot. So suffering brings about that empathy. You feel blessed. And the question is, therefore, how do you give back, and what kind of a cause that you believe in? I found that for me, most important cause was the discipline, marketing discipline. So we started the first foundation totally focused on the discipline. It has done very well for a very small foundation, incredible impact on the society, generating new scholars, and usually once a year they'll have a doctoral consortium. 100 university, top students from each university, one is invited. About 100 scholars go together. This year, later in the month, in June, will be hosted by UT Austin, University of Texas at Austin. Last year was at Indiana University. Before that one was at Leeds University in England. London Business School, Northwestern just goes on. It's absolutely interesting place. And that's where you see the new talent rising, mentoring, the existing talent mentoring, and it has become very impact-making. I think that was the spark. First thing we did was to endow my own professor, who was my mentor, and he did what I am is clearly owed to him. His name was John Howard. We worked together for 7-8 years. And so to honor him, we endowed a doctoral dissertation award at the American Marketing Association before the foundation was created. And the foundation will celebrate 30 years and has done multi-million-dollar contribution over time. It's incredible to see cumulative impact over time, which is great. Then we started a Sheth Family Foundation to give back to the Atlanta community and to the Indian communities, both in India as well as here. And that has done quite well. It's really smaller amounts in some way, but the impact and the satisfaction you get is much greater. So Family Foundation is the other one. I mean, people like Eric Joyner, who is here, we are on the board at the World Affairs Council, and you can see how much potential this city has. I always believe that Atlanta can aspire and become a global hub city. We are just a sleepy little town. It has all the ingredients, but no recipe.
By the way, the Sheth Foundation, thanks to you, we just gave away a prize to 3 college student teams from around the world as part of TiE University, all that are generating ideas that have sustainability at their core. So thank you a great deal to the Sheth Foundation. But I think Jeff's question was about the Jainism origins into philanthropy, right?
Absolutely. Jainism as a principle, there are 3 non-violence, of course, is where Martin Luther King, Mandela, Gandhi learned from this religion to use that as a social movement. But one of the key principles is depossession of possessions. The more you have possessions and ownership, the more you will suffer. You will not get the joy from ownership. That's very interesting, contrary to every other expectation. So it puts a process to say, give back. You don't need all this stuff. Do mindful consumption. And that's what my wife is very passionate about, that one. We have right now, as a part of a larger group, probably endowed about 12 to 14 universities for an endowed chair in Jainism. 7, 8 in California. We have one at Emory University, one at University of Illinois in the Department of Religion, University of Pittsburgh, we're in the final negotiations, and the journey will continue. Because that religion today is more contemporary than ever before. Tolerance for any form of life. An insect has the same right or a same level of as a human being. They're equal, essentially. So it teaches you not to think that humans are the superior species, that we are here to exploit the nature, that everybody else here to serve us to get better. It's actually interdependence. When you think about it, it makes a lot of sense from an environmental sustainability viewpoint right now, or societal coexistence, tolerance of alternative views. So given that we are going on the scholarly side, not the ritual side as much, toward how can this religion, and not counting the religion, but how it can, compatible with a modern lifestyle. Young people relate to that very quickly. And I do want to mention, Paul mentioned something that he is doing, which is very key, the university entrepreneurship contest. Teams are formed, they work together and make a presentation. The last one, about a month ago, we had 1,445 or some such number of teams competing on a global basis, mind-boggling. Now with his vision and the TiE vision of obviously is to expand into Africa, Latin America, very possible.
And you know where it got started? Ashish introduced me to Dr. Jag. Ashish, I don't know if you remember, 9 years ago, we went to his office, et cetera, and he looked over the strategy and we kept talking about how we were going to explode. And he said, don't do that, stay in Georgia for 3 years. Get the formula right, and I still remember that. And he's offered now to become an advisor to our program that has gone global. Actually, just the 1,400 plus teams were from 24 countries, one of the largest ways where we won't even remember or comprehend the impact we're all making.
Yeah.
I think with that said, what we're going to do is close out with one last question that I'll ask on all of your behalf. So I think I heard you say your best days are ahead of us, right? You wanted to be optimistic, et cetera. You've had 30 books, you've had 100 articles, et cetera. What next? What might be a role model idea that others might hear about? Where are you going from here?
It's a tough one because adapting to the environment is very key, as I mentioned. So sometimes it's the environment that drives you in one direction as opposed to some other direction. But if I had a control over my own destiny, then probably 2 things. One would be to publish a book that is published after I die. which means writing constantly, pretty much. That's interesting. It's not a negative view, please, okay? I mean, it's a very positive view, looking forward to, the end of the career kind of a notion. The other one is same thing, giving back, any form. And as you know, in philanthropy, there are 3 T's: time, treasure, and talent. So any way we can give back. And I must tell you, that is where Madhu and I are compatible. She's a absolutely selfless worker for community and for Jainism, especially day and night. She spends times, which is incredible at our age, the energy that she has. So we feed on each other's energy.
Wonderful sort of summary. And with that, before we have words from his children, Reshma and Rajan, ladies and gentlemen, please congratulate on all our collective behalf, Professor Jag Sheth.
Okay, so now we're going to hear a few words from Reshma first, virtually.
Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful time tonight. I'm sorry we couldn't be there in person. Our daughter is graduating from UC San Diego, and we had to be there with her. If you don't know me, my name is Reshma Shah. I am a professor in marketing at Emory's Goizueta Business School. You might be knowing another professor in marketing at Goizueta Business School. Oh, wait, you're celebrating him tonight. That's fabulous. And again, I'm so sorry that we couldn't be there in person to help celebrate him as well. I am so proud to call Dr. Sheth my father, but I'm also very proud to call him a mentor. I followed in his footsteps, as you know. However, he stands tall as a scholar, as a researcher, as a professor, as a guide, and as a mentor to thousands and thousands of people. These are big shoes to fill. Now, I don't know if you actually know, but we wear the same size. However, it's tough for me to keep up with how fast he keeps running. Dad, I wish we could be there in person. I'm so proud of everything that you've done, and especially being awarded the 2020 Padmabhushan Award from the government of India is a true, true honor. Since you came from very humble beginnings, to see how much you have done, how much you have developed and grown, and then how much you've given back to so many different people in so many different ways is highly inspirational to myself, to Hitesh, and to our girls. It's very interesting that TiE is holding this reception for you, because in today's business world, people just really don't wear ties, but you're definitely somebody who does. We love you, and we respect you tremendously. Have a great evening. Good night.
Well, thank you to Reshma. Now we're going to hear a few words from Rajan.
It's hard to follow my sister. She does such a good job. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me. As I look out across the audience, there are people that I have known here for 10 years, 20 years, ever since I've been in Atlanta, 25 years. And many of you would say and think, gosh, it must be amazing to be Jag Sheth's son. Let me tell you, it's tough. It's tough to be Michael Jordan's son. It's tough when your father has written more books than you have read. It's tough when your dad, at the age of 80, has more hair than you have. So it's not the easiest thing. But truly, all jokes aside, I don't know if all of you know, but the reason I came to Atlanta was because of my parents, because of my dad. I actually came to work for him. For 6 years, I worked with my dad. And it was very much, it was the hardest work I had ever done. 12 hours a day, 6 to 7 days a week. If any of you plan to work with my dad, let me warn you. But I learned so much. It was like getting a PhD. Right? It was a phenomenal, and I, honestly, I feel like I'm one of the luckiest kids alive. I've had a front seat to all of the knowledge that my father espouses. Even in his 80s, we get together for dinners and the rest, and I'm still amazed that every single time I walk away learning something new. That's incredible. Right? And one of the other best things about it is my dad has met so many people like yourselves that I haven't met, and he'll meet them, and if they're my age, he'll say, you know, it's nice knowing you, but you should go play with my son. And so I've met so many people in the process, which is great. So, Dad, as so many people here have said, as the speeches, the presentations all have said, it's wonderful to be your son, but your life has had an enormous impact, right? It's really the role model type of life that we all achieve or look to try to achieve, right? To have for ourselves, you have had. And that's an amazing thing. And so I congratulate you, not just on the Padmabhushan Award, but for everything you've done in life. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Okay, and we'd like to invite one more person to come up, the Deputy Counselor General. Are you here to say a few words on behalf? Yes? Oh, sorry. I'm looking right at you. Welcome.
Mr. Sid Mukherjee, President, Board members, Professor Jagdish Sheth, ladies and gentlemen. Our CG, Dr. Swati Kulkarni, was supposed to attend this event and felicitate Professor Jagdish Sheth, but unfortunately she fell sick and I had to replace her. So thank you very much, organizers, TiE Atlanta, for giving me this honor to felicitate Professor Jagdish Sheth. I will not say much about his achievements. You have already seen the documentary, and Mr. Sid had also spoken a lot about it. All I will say is he's outstanding scholar and thought leader. He has written more than 300 papers on variety of subjects like marketing, information technology, and geopolitics, consumer behavior. Recognizing his excellence in his field, Government of India has conferred him with a Padmabhushan Award for the year 2020 in the field of literature and education. This is something very outstanding. These awards were instituted in 1954, and since then, about 1,300 people have received this award. And in his field, that is literature and education, only 297 people have received this award. So you can see his achievements. We in embassy, we in consulate also have been taking his help time and again. Last year we were clueless about how to restart trade with when this COVID has affected it so much. So Professor Jagdish Sheth and his team gave us a roadmap. We are still following it, and we are thankful to him for it. I'm sure TiE Atlanta will benefit by his presence. In India, we have a concept which is called satsang. Satsang means that you get benefit by mere presence of a person who is having outstanding knowledge or is a holy person. So he among you, even if you are sitting there just listening to him, or even if you are not listening, even darshan of a person of this high stature gives you benefit, gives you mental peace and stability. And if you see that every third person in USA is suffering from some kind of mental disease or depression. It is a big achievement that you have such a well-read, well-studied, well-educated person amongst us. So I will again thank TiE Atlanta and Professor Jagdish Sheth. We look forward to working with them, and we will benefit from his advice and your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madanji, for those words, and thank you for you're representing India and for honoring one of our favorite people in the city of Atlanta. So greatly appreciate that, and thank you also for making the time. Of course, we are missing Dr. Kulkarni, but thank you for filling in. So the last part of this, Dr. Sheth, if you can please come up. We want to give you an award. It's not quite the Padmabhushan, but it definitely is from all our hearts, and we definitely mean it when we say that it's a great honor to have you in this. So this award is being given by TiE Atlanta and the Indian Consulate General, infinitely honoring Dr. Jagdish Sheth.
It takes two people to hold it.
No, we can, yeah, you can give it to him, I think. You can take it. Would you like to say anything, sir? All right. You're good? Okay. Sure, please.
I'm just simply overwhelmed, very grateful. This is the spirit and the soul of TiE. I think TiE is in the business of recognizing others, encouraging others in the process, and to continue the journey. And again, I'm so glad that the consulate here is very innovative, surprisingly. It's the youngest consulate in America from the Indian side. The third consul general, who could not be here, is a dear friend. She surprised me actually on January 26th when we celebrate the Republic Day, which is where the awards are announced for next year, essentially. In the middle of the ceremony, which was done somewhere nearby, actually, she unannounced gave the award physically because I could not go to India. And there were like 400 or 500 people in the audience. So it's really remarkable. We'll miss her. Typical diplomatic duties. She's going to be recalled back to Delhi to be posted someplace much bigger. She's a very important person in the foreign ministry. And this award from India is nominated by each ministers or ministry. So this one was by the foreign ministry of government of India through the process they go through. And ultimately, I think it is a committee or somebody who chooses the president of the nation, not the prime minister, who gives the award essentially. Again, thank you very much for you to come here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sheth. If you can please stay here for just one more minute. We also wanted to actually recognize Dr. Swati Kulkarni, the Consulate General of India currently. She's about to finish up her 3-year assignment as the Consulate General of India in Atlanta. And we wanted to recognize her with a small memento as well. So I know that she could not make it here, so I request Mr. Gildayal to accept that memento on our behalf. So that was the last part of the ceremony here. So once again, thank you so much for all of you for coming here, and thank you all the guests that came here. You all are very busy. I really appreciate it. We all do. I mean, and I'm sure Dr. Sheth does as well. So we'll still be here. You can still hang around for networking. Finally, we also have our monthly meeting starting at 6. So if you can stay for that, that will also be wonderful. Thank you and have a great evening.
I just have one. Oh my God, that was loud. I just have one more thing. Anybody on the board or City of Dunwoody, if you guys could make your way back here, we want to do a photo op. Thank you. Is this on? Am I good? Okay. You guys, if you are a part of City of Dunwoody or the board of directors for TiE Atlanta, if you can make your way up to the stage so we can get a photo of you, please. If you're on the board for TiE Atlanta or if you're with City of Dunwoody, please make your way to the front. Thank you so much.